How you doing, everybody? Randy Richard in the shop, and today we're going to set the yoke up on the mill for the cement mixer restoration, or at least the start of the setup for the yoke. And the plate is deburred on the bottom side now, and not really super clean or anything, but no burrs and stuff, but cleaned up. And we're ready to set it up here on the mill. There we go. I kept changing my mind there. Now this is the machined edge and this is the machined edge. So we'll be lining this edge up with the travel of the table after we get it slid in place, which is going to be way down here. Like that. I'm only going to have about 6 inches of travel here to get this aligned. Now, I want it to pivot around this one here, closest to this start point. It makes it a little easier to align when you do that. We'll just kind of barely have these a little tight. Just barely. Just so I can move it around a little bit, but holding it down to the table. It might be a little too tight. I cranked her down. Let's see if anything changes. Yeah, that's sweet there. Now I don't really need to align the table, but if I want this as a reference surface while I'm doing the setup, it's a lot easier to do it now. So that's step one. I probably should have cleaned this up a little bit better, but it'll be okay. There's the angle plate. Hardware. 3/4 inch bolt. 6 inches long, I think, or so. Cap screw. That's going to go through the pivot. And these are the bolts, big washers, 1/2 that I'm going to use to bolt the plate, the angle plate down with. The overview of the yoke. All the modeling I've done so far. I may do more, but I hope I don't have to do too much more. So we'll first off, we'll start off here with the mill table. That's the edge view of the mill table. Now these are just representation modeling for size and location and stuff. So it's not going to I'm not going to put in all the details that are really needed. I just need to know where the slots are. And the size of the table. That's all I really needed, right? And we're going to put on a fixture plate right here. This will be the fixture plate, and this is just a rough location where it's going to be. It's not an exact location right yet. So this is movable. And that's Roscoe. I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to put in a fixture plate on there that I'm working on making, and we're going to be doing that right away here. There's going to be an angle plate right there. Now this doesn't have all the holes the angle plate has. It has more holes up here I just didn't put in yet. We'll see if I have to or not. I plan on using this center slot and then these slots here for onto the table. Now this angle plate, this one slot for some reason is these are 2-inch spacing. This one's a 2 1/4 for some reason. So, you know, they somehow they messed up on their CNC work, right? So since I'm doing a 2-inch square pattern, we'll have these 3 slots I can use easily to move it anywhere I want. Now this is I have it set for sliding in this plane right here. For now, it's an approximate location. Then we have the head. This is a representation of the head. It's an approximate representation. It's pretty close. A representation, just a quick modeling of it. With the ram. This is representing the ram, actually. And then we have a swivel joint here. We have a swivel joint here at that line. And then we also have the quill. And the quill actually comes in and out. So that's about what the angling, turn around here, that's about what it's going to look like when we get it all set up. And you can see the heights here roughly. And then we have the yoke itself. There we go. And you can see about how it's going to hopefully look when it's set up here. We're going to use that center point on the yoke to put a 3/4 inch bolt through and that one slot. And we'll have it, centered up on that angle plate slot. And then we'll be able to bolt it down, of course, to the table. Now, direction or location in this Y direction will all depend on the room we have at the head here. We'll put the boring head. Here's the boring bar, boring head in here in the mill. I just put that in, and we can put some colors on here. Then you can see. So there's the boring head and boring bar set up, and let's we'll get this turned a little different. There we go. There we go. This is from the mill side, mill column side, looking at it actually, or the other end, and out from the outboard side, the operator side. And you can see here how I can move this in and out, and for now, and you can see how the boring bar is going to work here with the tool right here, and I'll be able to reach in and just machine this portion here. This portion on this end is for the hand wheel, so I don't really need to touch this at all, but this is not concentric with this anymore. It's oval and it has a little taper to it. We're going to make it round again, and we're going to make it concentric with the hand wheel. I'm going to use this end here as my probably my reference. It's the only machine surface. And here's the other journal we'll do right down here. Let's see. So there's a top view again of it. So now from the center point here to this journal is shorter on this side than it is from the center point to this journal. This is a little bit longer over here. Not much, just a little bit. And so we'll have to, when we flip this around, we'll have to have this in a bit of a little bit different location. I might need a little bit more room up over here. So we might have to, slide the plate over one set of holes, maybe, that sort of thing. instead of over here. You know, it might be just over here. And I'm going to be putting in blocking underneath here and clamping to support all this real solid. That's the plan there, and I think this is going to work. It's an interesting setup and project. So that there's several people have been asked about how this is all going to come out. And also, I'm working on here. I'll put in these. These are the bearing blocks right there. I'm working on redesigning these. We'll go over here. This is a bearing block. We'll take that color out, and I'm considering making bronze bushings to go in here. So that's where I'm going right now. And the thickness of the shell is not determined yet. I'm going to get more accurate dimensioning on this inside of how much material I can remove, and it depends on the size of the shafts or the journals on the yoke too. So I'm going to make some more measurements before I actually machine things, so we'll be all set. And then this is pretty much where I want to go here, is machine this and put an actual bearing in there. So yeah, the shaft, there's a shaft stuck in there just for representation. Those are my thoughts so far, and put it back together, and that's what they look like fitted up on here already, like that. So you'll see here, this one has a little bit of clearance actually. See on the sides, this one fits pretty tight. There's not really very much clearance at all. That's the deal. Now it's off to get this plate finished up, and a lot of work to do still on this. All these holes to drill, and then we'll be set up to get this thing mounted. Well, this is where I'm at, right? We got the plate on, and we have that aligned. I just threw the angle plate on, of course, in an approximate location. And the yoke, I set up there and put it through that 3/4 inch bolt. It only weighs, the yoke, probably about 60 pounds. It wasn't too bad. I did all by myself. I just picked it up, set it up here, and slipped the bolt in, and picked it up. And I have a block underneath here to raise it up off the table a little bit. I may have to raise it farther even, so I'm not positive yet. And I threw one of the welding clamps, so slipped it in there, clamped it down, and I have a little machinist jack right here underneath. My Paul Jones machinist jack here underneath. So I did some preliminary squaring of the spindle. Now this part is the journal part right here. This is the part we're going to turn. This part is where the large ring gear goes on. So I'm not. This part here is round. I'll bet that this was all machined at once and all the same size. This has got a ridge here, and it's real heavy on this side, the bottom here side. So this is not worn round anymore, and it has a little taper. So this journal area is what we're going to turn. I'm going to turn it concentric with this gear spot here. This is original and is the best machine spot on the whole thing. So we're going to align with this part here, and we'll be turning that, like I said. So right now, this is just a rough location. I think I'm going to have to shift it farther back on the plate. The plate's about back as far as I want to go with it, because I have 4 bolts holding it down, and they're right. The rear bolts are right in the end of the slots, so that's about as far back as I want to go. And so next would be to move this back, the whole thing. But what I'm ready to do now is actually is tilt the head, is bring it down around and get it kind of in position where it needs to be. I have a lot of stuff on here on the head. The head's going to swing down, so my DRO is going to be kind of in the way, it looks like. I'm going to have to cut a couple tie wraps, it looks like, for the cables. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen the 4 in the front here, and we'll get the head rotated down first. Then we'll be loosening these 3 back here and rolling it down 45 degrees. That's the maximum I should be able to go, hopefully. And that will get the head horizontal with the table, and lower than this down here, and that gives me some room here to bring the table up to match where the head is, where the spindle will be. At least that's the plan. I looks like I have just enough room. I took off the Tangent Engineering hand wheel. It was going to be in the way as it rolled around here, and I'm probably going to have to bring the ram out some here too. So we'll start right there. We'll see how that looks. And this way I have I put my small hand wheel now. That's an 8-inch hand wheel, and that'll have a little more clearance when I roll around. That's kind of close. Just eyeing it here, and so I snugged those a little tiny bit. There we go. Now these ones we can snug back up because the angle here doesn't matter. It's just that the head has to be, it's just getting it down in a lower position. Now, I'm not turning the turret head, the entire head. I just left it in the same position so that maintain my squareness with my table. If I turn it at an angle, then everything's at an angle. You know, then I'd have to turn the yoke to the angle. So if I can do it just like this, things should be good. There you go. You see how we're down at about 45 and over at 90. Now I'm going to bring the table all up. I'm going to raise the table up, and then that's going to determine how much more do I have to raise this, because we have to get in line with the spindle. That's going to be the big question here now. That's it. Yeah, a few oil drips going, but that's all right. I've oiled everything before I did all this, and so hopefully there's enough oil in everything to do what we have to do here. Well, and I'll swing you around here, and we'll take a look at over here at the spindle. It's pretty close to giving you a perspective of what we have here. The center line on the horizontal plane to the center line of the spindle. And we're looking maybe about 2 inches. Over here, this handle, we have about 1/2 inch or less between that handle and the table. Because we're going to have to take this, the table has to go in. We need to be in to get in line also. Now I can still bring the ram out, which I think I'm going to do. And I brought the ram out. That's pretty close on the y-axis. Now I still need to get more room here. So I need to raise the yoke 2 to 3 inches. Let's see what we're looking at here. Right there. So we're about 6 3/4 inches, and we're about 5 1/4. So about 1.5 inches. Not too bad. You can see my stack of block. I have a block here already, so we're gonna add a 1.5 inches to that and see how it goes. I'm using my fireball blocks here. Let's see here, get the glare off of it, huh? There you go, fireball tool. And so yeah, this is 1.5 inches stacked up here. And it's heavier on this end because of the way that this shaft end is a little bit different, of course, and it's a little bit longer, so it's just a little heavier over here. That's pretty close. I think what I'll do is I'm going to raise it up another 1/2 inch. I'm going to make that 2 inches more. And then I'll lower the table. It gives me a little bit more clearance over there. A little more adjustability that way. There you see that. See, I have a 2-inch block in there now. Now we have a little bit of extra height here, it looks like. And I can actually lower this down some, so I'm not so close. Yeah. And it gives me a little more adjustability. Now the bigger question is, can I get my boring head in this space here? I'm just about 1/2 inch shy for that probably fitting. So I'm going to shift my whole works over with the angle plate. I'm going to shift it all over, and then we'll have plenty of room. Now I have this unbolted from the table, and it's just sitting here, and it's very stable. So that's pretty good. That'll be 2 inches. 2 inches there, and then we can, if we had the boring head in there, that's actually plenty of room, but I'll have to put the boring head in. All right, shifted the table forward and slipped the boring head in and locked it in. Now I haven't aligned the head yet, but I'm going to get to that. But just like doing that on lathe, you can get that concentricity. All right, I've decided I'm going to get this aligned with the table first, I think. And then I'll work on the head. So first I'm going to find the height. Now the surface is kind of rough. And I'm just zeroing it on the one end here. Finding the high spot, zero it out. And then go down to the other end and zero this out. And find the high spot and see where I'm at, I should say. So I'm about 12.5 high at this end, so I need to rotate it upward. And I just zero it again. And just back and forth until you have them reading the same, that you're satisfied that this is parallel with the table. Now I have a jack under here, right? And up here I have a clamp right over the jack, pretty much. So I could keep that locked in place, and I have this zeroed. So my rotation up and down is parallel now with the table. We don't care what the angle of the table is. I do have an magnetic angle block, but this isn't going to matter. If we square everything parallel with the table, then as our basis, then we'll be able to machine that straight. And the high spot is 0. That's pretty darn good. Pretty good. About half thou. So I got to hold it against here, but so half hour, maybe a little less, and we're going to call that okay. Well, across the top, I've got it within a half a thousandth. Across this plane here, well, I'm about 3 thousandths. Let's see here. Make that 4 thousandths. Four and a half thousandths in 4 inches. For me to adjust this, I need to turn the turret part of the entire head very, very tiny bit. All right, with some gentle caressing, that means a brass hammer and a block. I think within a half. Within a half. Within a half. All right, I'm happy that this is aligned with the table. I'm happy the yoke is aligned with the table. I think we're pretty good. Now we have to get the two aligned together. Here's the setup. Running around where the gear sits now. So dial indicator, and we're zeroed all the way around, just rolling it around, and lots of mirrors. Use a lot of mirrors. Having these little pocket mirrors, this is Estee Lauder, and you can just set it there. Sometimes you can get magnifying ones too, but yeah, you just set it down underneath so you can read the indicator real easy. And another mirror for the back, and roll it around. Dial it in. And now to dial this in, now Roscoe's here. He's helping. I'm just, yeah, I'm telling him about the table, okay? Just give me a chance. So I'm just moving the table, X and Y. Or I should say Z and Y, back and forth from Y and up and down to align this with the spindle. He wants to go in where it's warm. It's kind of cold in the shop, and I'm not paying any attention to him. Say that, or he's telling me how to do this. So anyway, I think this is pretty good, and we're all set there. I did change my clamps here to 2 machine jacks underneath and 2 strap clamps. This is a much more solid rig or setup, and I put a jack underneath. Underneath the table, I put a hydraulic jack in. This is one of my airplane jacks. Yeah, nice 2-foot jack. And I put that in to support the table. I don't plan on using the table. So this is added support to all this. We're looking at about 158 pounds for the plate, and another probably 70 to 70 pounds for the yoke. So a little over 200 pounds, and this is good. This helps a lot, and it will stabilize everything.